Here there, Rear Admiral Chris Sutherland, episode 3, talking to you about my experience in recovery from addiction and mental illness. And today I want to talk about barriers to recovery. And I want to do this before I start sharing about my journey in recovery, dealing with addiction, depression, mental illness. Today, welcome to the Admiral's Nook. I wouldn't exactly classify it as a cave. It's a small sub-basement where I live, where my office is. The height is about 5'5", so if I stand up really quick, I hit the deck head with my head. It's just kind of like being on board a ship. But I'm back from sea, and I want to continue sharing a bit about my journey in recovery, as I said, from addiction and depression. A sub-objective of these videos is I want to share for you, especially you young people, the awesomeness of 80s music and 80s videos in particular. If I can figure out how to do a link to these videos, the first one I want to share is the first concert I saw in 1984, Platinum Blonde, and the song It Really Doesn't Matter. Mark Holmes is in this video rocking a white leather jacket and red leather pants, like he's crushing it. It has a wicked drum solo. Not exactly In the Air Tonight wicked, but still a wicked drum solo. So I'm hoping I can figure out how to link this and other 80s music to follow in future videos. As I mentioned in previous videos, I started sharing about my recovery from addiction, depression about a decade ago, in the hopes of reducing stigma associated and fear about reaching out for help, stuff that I experienced personally. But it's only recently that I really began to think about barriers to recovery that I've seen in others, and also maybe share a bit about my privilege and advantages I had in my journey in recovery, because I really didn't account for this when I started sharing my story. So the first, I would say, advantage I have is I haven't really faced a lot of trauma in my life. Insecurity, as I said, it was the big driver of my addiction and depression. Second, I'm in the military, and military life has a lot of challenges, but military healthcare, they covered my expenses. They paid for me to go to a treatment center, 55 days to work on my addiction and recovery from addiction. Third, I'm an officer in the military. I was a junior officer, when I reached out for help. But I think that has an advantage. And if you ask non-commissioned members, NCOs, I think they would agree with me. We try to treat everyone the same, but I know there's still a bit of favoritism on that front. Fourth, I was single when I really was starting to work my recovery. I'll talk more about relationships later on, but one of the biggest fears I had when I started reaching out for help was that my career was over. I was absolutely terrified, suicidal about it. I found out talking to my partner, my wife, but I was single at the time. I can't imagine being someone who's married and has a family of 3 or 4 kids, and especially if they're the sole breadwinner for that family, being absolutely terrified about losing your job, about losing the income. And my simple answer to that, and I know it's not going to cover everything, is that in my experience, in my journey, as scared of reaching out for help, of losing my job, I can only tell you from my experience, it would have been a lot worse had I not gotten help for my addiction and for my mental illness. I would not be here right now. And so that it would have been a very dark ending, but I know I would have lost my job in that process. Another advantage I have, especially in the military, is I reached out for help before I started getting into trouble at work. I'm ashamed to say that it wasn't really my family and my love for others that drove me into recovery. It was fear for my career, which that says a lot about me at the time. But I really was fortunate, I guess, that I hit a bottom, but it wasn't a bottom where I was starting to get in trouble with work. I wasn't being charged. I wasn't being, dragged before some sort of summary investigation. So I reached out for help before it started impacting on my work in a big way. And finally, in terms of advantages, my family, I'll talk about my dad issues, but my family was well off, is well off. So even if I'd lost my job, I had a huge safety net behind me, and I know so many people out there don't. So I guess I just wanted to cover these, kind of barriers that I assess exist to recovery. I know there's a lot more that I haven't covered. People can share their experiences in barriers to recovery, but for mine, I kind of want to share what I experienced and what acknowledge, I guess, the advantages and the privilege I had in my recovery, especially before I start sharing. As I said, why I drank, one of the big indicators was insecurity. And the next episode, I intend to cover that. So I'll talk, and I hope to make it a little more lighthearted, because I've got this prop that I'll show you that kind of gives you an early indication that I was really struggling with insecurity from a very young age. But then we'll get in more about things that impacted my, why, or the reasons why I think I turned to alcohol, to addiction, to address what was going on in my life at the time, and talk about recovery, because life is so incredibly good in recovery. It is so much better. It's tough dealing on life with no kind of on life's terms, but it is absolutely outstanding. I am so grateful that I'm in recovery. I'm so grateful that I was I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but the journey, I think, has made me a better person, a better leader, a better officer, a better partner, a better father. So I hope to share more about that in future episodes. So hopefully I can get that link for Platinum Blonde. This is Rear Admiral Chris Sutherland, aka the Alcoholic Admiral, signing off, asking you to be kind, make good choices, and stay hydrated. Thanks very much, and we'll talk to you soon. Signing off.